Good morning. My apologies for being slightly late. Chicago traffic was better, wasn't it? 2 hours to get into school. Working party on fire and safety. Early days with myself and Jose Charo co-chairing the committee. We're going to be looking for committee members and getting concluded in the next couple of months. So please get in contact, please talk to us. It's a very, very exciting time to be a fire engineer at the moment. There's been a lot of concerns and problems, particularly in the wake of 9/11. That's brought things to a head, I think, it's fair to say. But we've had fires in buildings before. We've had fires in buildings since. We know that buildings, or fires in tall buildings, generally don't lead to large numbers of fatalities. Generally, they're actually safe in equivalent low-rise buildings in many situations. And we need to find ways of drawing objective guidance and the understanding of fire in tall buildings to make sure we can keep them safe in the future. At the same time, we need to find ways of making sure that design solutions can come up that are economic and fit the purpose and suit the needs of our clients, developers and architects. There's a lot of people out there who've done research and produced papers and documents of fire safety. This report is probably the most famous one in the last couple of years. But there doesn't seem to be a single unified set of understanding and philosophy for taking fire safety and tall buildings forward. But I think one of the things we want to do is review the existing codes and guidance that's out there. We want to try and close down the gap, I think, between some of the research that's out there and practical design. And we want to start to bring an understanding of fire safety to the non-fire safety professionals, in particular people like architects and developers. And I think CTBUH is the ideal forum for this. It has the width of interested parties. Everybody associated with tall buildings is involved in CTBUH. We have everybody from the designers, the operators, the people who are going to be sort of, paying for buildings as well. There's members of those groups all throughout the CTBUH. So I think it has the ability to draw those bodies together. At the same time, it's a very good forum for putting out some unified guidance and some unified thoughts because of that cross-section that reaches, and particularly the international cross-section. There are some great differences around the world internationally between different codes, different guidance. And I think we want to try and bring that together, help people understand why those differences are there, some of the culture and such like, and really sort of try and demystify something. We started thinking about some proposed outputs from the working party. I think it's quite important to say to try and come up with a summary of what's really going on around the world. One is the best practice, what I've got to thinking about. And that information is generally out there, but there's no real unified documents that bring all that together. The risk-based approach, the performance-based approach to fire safety design is absolutely fundamental for building design. That means we can tailor fire provisions to the specific building. That means we can get efficient solutions. That means we can get safe solutions. Sometimes it costs more in one part, sometimes it saves money in other parts. But risk-based is what that's all about. And a lot of people a little bit may not sort of fully understand what risk-based engineering means. I think we need to promote that and make sure that's clear. One other output which we were sort of considering and looking at is the feasibility of a health check type idea, maybe a check sheet to help people understand fire safety in buildings and whether the buildings are designed right. So on the best practice side, we'll probably be focusing on the key issues that impact on tall building design, things that really cause problems for designers. There's some obvious ones there: means of escape, structural and fire compartmentation, firefighting tactics. The interesting about the means of escape is some of the new challenges for some of the very, very tall buildings. Questions about the use of elevators and escape and such like at the forefront. And a lot of people are talking about that, and this report says we should use it, we should consider it. But we're already now starting to design buildings with elevator evacuation. We really want to get into that more quite detail. Structural fire protection and compartmentation, it's a major challenge. Big questions there about what sort of events we should be allowing for, particularly in the wake of the 9/11 particularly comes to the forefront. question there is really, what can we design for, what should we design for? Can we put some unified rules together that can apply internationally? Firefighter practice and tactics is varying considerably around the world. And I think one of the issues about tall building design is it's very international business. You have architects from America doing projects in the world, you have architects from Japan doing projects in America. And there's big differences with a lot of those people work on, and particularly things like firefighting tactics do vary so much internationally. So we really want to try and break some of that down pretty quickly. On explaining sort of the risk-based approach, risk-based engineering, it was mentioned in the progressive platform as well, it's very much the way forward for fire safety design. It's pretty much become the international practice. Everybody wants to do it. Most of the building codes around the world started adopting risk-based approaches and taking it on board. But there's a lot of problems with that, which approved authorities, for example, may not fully understand what that means. So one of the things we want to do is look at whether we can demystify the risk-based approach, draw people away from some of the more prescriptive codes, help people understand why prescriptive codes may not be as safe as a risk-based approach. Even though it may lead to cheating or efficient building, you can actually get at a safe, cheaper, efficient building with a risk-based approach. And one of the fundamentals of that is issues such as computational modelling, which is essential these days to a lot of tall building design. We look at sort of modelling for smoke control, smoke fire spread. We look at it from computation, structural fire safety, and we use it for evacuation as well. And there's a lot of questions about that. What are valid models, what are not? Do the approval authorities need to have that demystified so they can understand what they're approving? Do researchers need a bit more direction about where the holes are in the information? And as I say, to help approval authorities and architects and developers understand how we're using these models and what it really means. Finally, fire and safety health check. We've seen sort of check sheets the idea of doing some health checks from a sustainability point of view come to the fore in the last couple of years. I think there's a question about, can we do similar thing with fire safety? I think if we are going to do something about fire safety, then CTBUH is the right forum to be doing that. It's a complex challenge. Tall buildings tend to be unique, there's great variety around the world. Taking that into account and looking at risk-based design approaches as well makes the whole idea of a fire safety health check potentially very complicated. But it's something we want to look at and see whether we think it's feasible, and possibly in the future being able to turn around and say that a building has been designed in accordance with the CTBUH guidelines, or it's been checked and assessed by a CTBUH method. Maybe that becomes the gold standard for tall buildings. Maybe that will tell people that yes, the right tall buildings are the design. And maybe that will give designers, will give developers, give approval authorities confidence in tall buildings. So I think there's some exciting things to do. So we're looking for people to come on board the committee and take part in that. So please get in touch. And I look forward to working with you.